Hey y'all, I am back with a new What's for Dinner. First up, I made a quick homemade spaghetti sauce using these tomatoes from my dad's garden. As you can see, we had so many and I did not want those to go to waste. So this was the best way I could figure out on how to use up like a majority of those. So I started by washing the tomatoes very well, of course, and then I just got those chopped up into large pieces. Now I'm going to be using 3 different types of tomatoes since that's what I had. And I can't remember like the technical terms of what they're called, but this right here is obviously just like your regular red tomato. He also grew some really pretty striped ones and these little baby yellow tomatoes. So after I got all those chopped up, I just added those to a pizza pan since that's like the biggest cookie sheet I have to roast stuff on. I also threw on a handful of some peeled like whole garlic cloves. I'm going to drizzle everything generously with olive oil and sea salt. I'm also going to be seasoning with lots of black pepper and about a teaspoon of some dried Italian seasoning. Now, if you do choose to make this, definitely feel free to add more seasonings as like what fits your family best. But like spaghetti is one of my kids' favorite foods. It's something they'll always eat. So I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to make sure that they would actually enjoy it and eat it. So yeah, as you can see, I just massaged the tomatoes in that like seasoned oil, and I let that roast in the oven at 375 degrees for 1 hour. And you'll know when it's done when the tomatoes have like shriveled up and everything has developed some color. So I just got all of that transferred to a mixing bowl. I think that looks gorgeous and it smells so good. I pulled out my immersion blender and I'm just gonna mix that until it is perfectly smooth. We are not the type of family that likes a chunky spaghetti sauce, but if you do, just simply blend it for less. Now, there was 2 things that I was worried about when making this, and that was like the skins on the tomato and the seeds. I wasn't sure how that was going to turn out, but thankfully it was not a problem. I didn't even notice the skins. That blender did a very good job of breaking that up, and I only noticed like a few seeds here and there, and it wasn't even in a bad way. And I'm a huge texture person, and I thought this was perfect. I transferred it to a mason jar so that it would be ready for dinner time, which is now. I just served it over some angel hair pasta. You could obviously add some meat to this if you wanted to, but I wanted to keep this night meat free, and my kids prefer spaghetti with no meat in it, and I honestly do too. It's just a classic simple favorite. We top it with some Parmesan cheese, and we just did a side of some cheesy garlic bread this night. And y'all, this sauce was delicious. It definitely exceeded my expectations. I love the freshness of it. It tasted like it came from like a fancy Italian restaurant. My kids absolutely loved it, and it just made me super proud to make the sauce this way using my dad's tomatoes, just making it from scratch. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I can finally mark that off my list. Definitely saving this recipe, and I will be making it again. Up next, I'm going to be making some Mississippi chicken thighs in the Instant Pot. This was the very first recipe that I ever made in my Instant Pot when I first got it, and it has been a favorite ever since. It's the perfect like dump and go meal. So I started by dumping in close to 3 pounds of some boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I threw in about a half a cup of chicken broth. You'll need a packet of ranch seasoning mix. I actually grabbed the Fiesta one this time. I have never used that before. I wanted to see what kind of twist that would give this. And then you'll need either a packet of au jus mix or brown gravy. So I went with brown gravy. You'll need some pepperoncinis. You'll pour in some of the juice, and then you'll just add as many peppers in there as you want to. I did quite a few because I really love them once they're cooked up. And lastly, just 4 tablespoons of butter. It's going to cook for 8 minutes, and as soon as it's done cooking, you'll do a quick release. So this is the quickest meal to throw together, and it cooks up so quick. As you can see, that gravy really thickened up. The chicken thighs always cook up so perfectly. They're nice and juicy and tender, and you could either serve it over mashed potatoes like I am, or you could serve it over rice or egg noodles. You'll just want something to like soak up that gravy. So I just topped it with some black pepper and served it with a simple side of green beans, and it turned out so good, just like it does every time. But I really love the twist of that Fiesta Ranch packet, and we really love like all the different Mississippi flavored recipes, but the chicken thigh one is hands down our favorite. This is a clip from when we went over to visit my parents, and this is one of my favorite things that my dad makes, and it is so easy. It's just deli roast beef cooked in some brown gravy and served over some mashed potatoes and a piece of bread. It's kind of like a shortcut open-faced roast beef, and it is the best. The next night, I was really craving some hamburger helper, and luckily, I had everything at the house to make it homemade. So, I started by cooking up a pound of ground beef that I seasoned with salt, pepper, onion powder. Once it was fully cooked, I drained off the grease and then threw in some minced garlic. So, here I am just cooking that garlic in with the beef. And then the next step is going to be to add in a couple tablespoons of just some plain all-purpose flour, and I'm just stirring that to really coat the beef, and I'm going to let that cook down for a couple of minutes. This is what's going to help thicken up this liquid. So I just added in 2 cups of beef broth. I didn't have any, so I just used the 2 beef bouillon cubes with 2 cups of water. Once that came up to a boil, I added in an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, and I'm going to season this with some Italian seasoning, Lorry sea salt, and some onion powder. At this point, I'm going to throw in 2 cups of just some pasta shells. You can use any pasta you want to there, of course. I was going to do elbow noodles, but I didn't realize I didn't have any. And I thinned that out with just a little bit of milk because I realized that probably wasn't enough liquid to properly cook the pasta. I added my lid and I just let that cook until the pasta was completely done. It did take a little bit longer than what it would if I cooked it in water, but as soon as I got it to my liking, I added in a half a cup of heavy whipping cream, and you'll need 2 cups of cheese. I used some sharp cheddar, and I originally thought that this was going to be too much cheese, which is shocking, I know, for me to say, and I was going to say to cut it back to 1 cup, but I honestly ended up really loving the result. I didn't personally think that the cheese flavor was like too overpowering, and just look at how creamy and delicious that looks. The only thing that I would do different next time is I would leave out the Italian seasoning because I feel like that took away from the cheeseburger flavor that I was going for and what I grew up on eating. So other than that, it was super delicious. And as you can see, I just served it with a side of peas and the frozen Sister Schubert rolls. I don't know why they look unbaked there, but I can assure you they were. On this night, I came across these chicken apple smoked sausages in my freezer when I was cleaning it out. I have never had these before, and they've been in there a while. I've kind of been avoiding them because I didn't know how to use them up. But I also had these yellow potatoes that needed to be used. I only used a few of them for another recipe, so I figured that I could do some sort of sheet pan meal. So I washed the potatoes, sliced them in half, and I'm just getting those coated in some olive oil and garlic salt and pepper. Very basic, very simple. I will, of course, toss those to coat, and I'm going to get those dumped out on an oiled baking sheet. And with potatoes, you always want to make sure to spread them out, give them enough space so that they cook up properly. I am going to give these a head start in the oven at 400 degrees for 10 minutes. So as soon as I popped those in, I got started on everything else. I sliced up the sausages, and I also cut up some broccoli and some asparagus. Of course, like if you don't like those 2 veggies, just alternate it with something else that you like. And I'm just going to prepare those the same way I did the potatoes. So the oil, garlic, salt, and pepper. So I pulled the potatoes out after that 10-minute mark, like I said, and I'm just scooting those to like the rim, and I'm going to, of course, dump out the chicken and veggies. That's going to go back in the oven for an additional 30 minutes. So while I was sitting there waiting for those to be done, I could not get it out of my head that this needed some sort of like dressing. So I decided to add some Italian dressing to it since I have done that before with a sheet pan meal, and we really liked it. And here it is after it was done. I just topped it with some shredded Parmesan cheese. This was extremely low effort, very easy to throw together, and I'm so glad I added that Italian dressing and Parmesan cheese. It really bumped this up a level. After that cook time, these veggies were cooked perfectly, and that chicken sausage, the best way I can describe it is it tasted like fall time, and we loved them. For the last dinner in this video, I'm going to be cooking everything out on the grill. So for the protein, we're going to be doing some grilled chicken. That sounded really good. And I wanted to kind of take my time on showing how I prepare this chicken. Just for like maybe the beginner cooks that are watching, if anybody wants some like extra tips. So as you can see here, I have 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. And I'm just taking the time to clean these up, trim off the fat, and just all the little funky bits. And this is important too because I have realized for a while now, every single time I buy a boneless pack of anything from Walmart, I always find at least one bone throughout the package. And on this breast right here that I'm trimming up, I did find a bone on the side. So you always want to make sure to really run your fingers around the sides to make sure that there is no bones, because I can tell you it is not pleasant to bite into a bone when you are not expecting it. So anyways, once I got those trimmed up to the way I liked it, I'm going to get these sliced in half. So I just turn it over on its side, kind of pinch it up. That makes it easier. And you want to make sure to use a sharp knife to make that go really quickly. And this is also a great money saver, because instead of 2 servings, you now have enough chicken to feed 4, and chicken cooks up a lot better when it's in thinner pieces anyways. And here I was just trying to show you that everything is like an equal thickness. I was originally going to pound these out, but as you can see, I didn't need to. And that's important, because when you throw these on the grill, if it's not like equal in size, the thinner end will like burn up while you're trying to finish off the fatter piece. So that's why that is important. So I am going to be marinating this in a mojito lime marinade. I have shared this before. We love it. The flavor is great. And I'm just going to simply follow the directions on the back of the package. Marinating your chicken is going to really help, season it super well all throughout, and it's going to help it from drying out. The acidity of the vinegar, right here is some apple cider vinegar, that's going to really help make your chicken more tender. So I really like using a marinade. But if you didn't want to use a marinade, you can also brine your chicken in salt, water. I will show that another day, the next time that I grill up some chicken. But anyways, you want to make sure to reserve a couple tablespoons of that marinade. Don't pour it all in the bag. I added it to a large Ziploc, as you can see, and I just massage that in well, and that's going to go in the fridge until I'm ready. So I'm also going to be doing some baked potatoes. So here's just 4 russets that I've scrubbed, washed, and dried. Poke some holes in, and I am just covering these in some avocado oil, or you can use really any oil that you have, and also some kosher salt. So I'm just massaging all of that into the potatoes so that it's even, and I'm gonna pop that in the microwave for 5 minutes to give these a head start, or else it'll take forever and a day to get these potatoes cooked on the grill. So after the microwave, I am just going to individually wrap them in tinfoil, and I'm gonna go ahead and get those on the grill first, since they're gonna take the longest. I try to keep my grill around 400 degrees, and they're gonna take about an hour, and I do come and rotate those every 20 minutes. So during the last 20 minutes on the potatoes is when I wanted to get everything else added. So I'm also going to be doing some corn. So I will of course want to remove the husk and the little strings, and just in case someone watching has never done that, it's very simple. You just go from the top, take it into 2 sections, and just pull it down, and then snap off the end. Very, very simple. I also like to run it under water to help remove the extra little strings that you can't get off with your hands. And now we have 4 beautiful ears of corn. Now I have never done this method before, but I have seen other people do it, and I wanted to try it. But basically, you just take the corn and wrap it in a damp paper towel first, and then the tinfoil. It's supposed to help steam the corn better. I don't know if it's necessary, but I'm always down to try something new. Also, I had some leftover broccoli in the fridge from that sheet pan meal the night before, so I got that chopped up and added to this little tinfoil pan. And I had this Land O'Lakes garlic and herb butter that we really like. I had it sitting out on the counter for a little bit, so it's nice and soft. So I'm kind of taking it and smearing it all over the top. I'm going to seal it with some tinfoil on top, and as it cooks, that butter is going to perfectly coat all of the broccoli. So went out, got that added to the grill as well, and now I'm going to get started on the chicken. So I just took a paper towel and dabbed it in some more avocado oil. Again, use whatever oil you have, and you'll just want to oil the grates, because with grilled chicken, if you don't oil it like that, it will more than likely stick. I've had that happen so many times. So I like to let the first side cook longer than the second side. That way I can try and achieve some grill marks. And you know when it's ready to flip, when the edges are kind of turning brown, and I like to wait until it's not even pink anymore on top, but that's just a personal thing. But those took no time to cook up, and if you remember, we did reserve some marinade. This did not touch the raw meat, and I'm just dabbing that over the chicken using a silicone brush, and now they look gorgeous and they smell amazing. So I'm going to bring all of that into the house. I did add a little seasoning salt to the broccoli, and the broccoli was so good. It cooked so perfectly. I chopped up the chicken before plating it, and it turned out amazing. Tasted so good. It was nice and juicy. I buttered, salt, and peppered my corn, and then I got sour cream, cheese, butter, salt, pepper on my baked potato. And after this clip, you already know I drowned it in some A1 sauce. But we really, really enjoy this meal. But that is it for this video. I hope that you found some things to add to your meal plan. I hope that you all have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.